What's up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes checking in. Going to speak to one of our faves. As of late, he's been busting his butt. He's on an 8-fight win streak, working his way up in that featherweight division. The loaded featherweight division. Pat Sabatini is up next at UFC 322. It's Chepe Mariscal. What's going on, Chepe? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about you guys?
Good, thank you. So you're going for 9 in a row, almost at double digits. These fights are pivotal because it's a crowded field, man, at featherweight. You know, you still got your vets, and then you got the stars that are kind of falling off, like Emmett, Ortega, you know, and then you got the young cats that are making their way up, and it's just a big free-for-all, if you will. You got to be pretty excited about all the different possibilities are out there for as far as opponents. I mean, I know we're going to focus on Sabatini, but you know what I'm saying. It's a crowded field, but a talented field.
Man, it's great. I love like that. There's like even other great featherweights. Like we got Pitbull in. We got other good featherweight from Octagon or something like that. You know, like I like that they keep on mixing all these vets in. It gets me excited, man. It gets me more pumped for not just these fights that are coming up, but for the future, like for super fights, for those, those pay-per-view points, like that's what I'm looking for, forward to, and yeah, it's just fun.
You're on a very similar run to Steve Garcia, somebody who you mixed it up with, I think, at LFA or something. And today we were breaking down the possibilities for him, you know, maybe an Emmett, maybe a Jean Silva, maybe an Arnold Allen. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you're kind of like right there with him because of the similar streak that you're on?
Yeah, for sure, man. He's doing great, man. Like he's finishing fights, what he's got to do. Especially, I think he's gonna probably possibly break a record for like most finishes in the featherweight division. But he's putting in work, and which is great. Uh, Obviously, it makes my name look good too, because I want the guys that beat me to, to win, to show people like I'm not fighting just anybody, any cans. So, and then I'm doing my work, obviously fighting all these other dudes, other vets, other prospects. So he's just showing us that, we maybe meet again, a nice main event one day, or, for the title.
Are you really happy for him, or is it just kind of like a respect thing, knowing full well you want to get that lick back one day?
Oh, for sure. It's obviously always like a revenge thing, but the thing is, like, man, you never know if we get a rematch, I win, and then there's a trilogy. You just never know.
Yeah.
There's different stories out there, with the trilogies, and I never know if I'm gonna run into that. Even with Sabatini, like I fought him before, now we're fighting again. But we just don't know what all these outcomes are gonna come out to. But man, yeah, I would like to get that fight back again because I thought it was an early stoppage. But yeah, man, we're just hopefully we meet each other one day. But it's all respect in this game, man. I don't want there's no hate to anybody's success. I think that's kind of immature. But I think I want the best for even the guys that I beat or the guys that beat me.
Yeah. No, that's for one, it's mature, and I think it's a good way of honestly just leaving the past where it is and focusing on the future. Too many people get too caught up on every single thing that goes wrong rather than celebrating what goes right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're in Vegas now.
Yep.
How long ago was that move, and what prompted the move?
So like the UFC PI is there. And I was looking at that, like I needed recovery. I needed like I just wanted to be like this cool science project too. I was like, okay, let's see what I can improve and what can I, like what weaknesses I could fix. And then I was going to church, and suddenly one of my favorite pastors, uh, you know, they had this service, and then suddenly they were like, oh, we have some news that this pastor is moving to Las Vegas. And me and my wife were like, oh, damn, like that's a sign. Like, like we're already looking at houses out there. We're looking at the PI. We were looking at some gyms, but we're mostly of like the PI and, the church. And then especially the living, like a house cost is way lower than it was in Denver. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, we just picked up and and left. Got here in June, and yeah, we've been here and we love it.
Could you maybe point to one thing that is different about training in Vegas versus training back home?
So there's just a lot of dreamers here. There's a lot of people that want the opportunities, that want to chase. You know, there was, I think in Denver, there was a lot of guys that were just kind of floating, kind of not knowing what they really wanted. Like there was a lot of guys who were kind of some losing streaks or on a win, lose, win, win, lose situation, and it was like they didn't know what to do. So I felt like, you know, like it wasn't like my vibe. Like I knew where I wanted to be, where I wanted to get better, and that's what I kind of did out here. When I met people out here in Vegas, it was just a different drive. People wanted the opportunity, wanted to be here, wanted to fight, you know, and they actually showed up. You know, there's like I'm actually at Syndicate now, so a lot of guys there at Syndicate, they're showing out and they're showing up, you know, in those fights, and it just shows that, you know, I'm at the right place.
Your streak and your momentum, what kind of returns can we expect to see that? And can you kind of map out what you think 2026 will be like if this continues?
Man, if it continues, like hope to God, like it's to get a ranked opponent. Obviously, like I've been calling out ranked opponents. I was trying to call out Pitbull for the Rio card. You know, there was Giga. Um, yeah, there was just other guys that I was aiming for, and they gave me call. They you know they called me. They asked me, and I was like, yeah. So hopefully, you know, I get through Sabatini and get some ranked opponents, and you know, hopefully get like 3 wins off of that too, and then hopefully get a title run.
There's been some legends and just nasty dudes at the top of your division, and it's been consistent for a few years now. What would you say is the biggest difference between that old guard and kind of like the new guard, like you and George mentioned Steve Garcia, those guys coming up? What do you think is the biggest difference between you guys?
I feel like we just got a little more heart, a little more fire. You know, uh, it shows even like I'm training with Merab, who's a guy who's just consistently a machine. You know, in the gym, and that's how I kind of fight. You know, where it's kind of movement and it doesn't stop, and that's Garcia too. You know, there's some fighters in our weight class that just consistently don't stop moving. So it's putting my mix in that, and you know, giving out my heart. You know, like it's all heart in this game, and I think we got this grit that a lot of other fighters don't have, and I think that's what makes us different.
In this particular fight here ahead of you, what's one promise you can make to the fans, and what's one promise that you made to yourself?
It's to myself is always try my best, man. It's to, you know, go out there and do to make myself proud, and for the fans, man, expect the finish, because that's what I'm trying to do now. I've been winning fights, doing my part, and now it's to get these bonuses, get these finishes, you know, and that's what I want to do with this guy. It's a guy that I beat it already, and I feel like I got you know the right corner and the right team to give me the right game plan to go out there and get a finish.
Did you not get recruited, but did someone from Syndicate say, "Hey, try here," or did you do the circuit of Vegas gyms and then settle in on Syndicate? And tell me something you like about the vibe there.
So it was actually I was like training at the UFC PI, and they had like this neat little group, and Aljo was there. So I was like, okay, I'm getting somewhat of training with like a champion, but I felt like I needed more of like that coach vibe, you know, somebody to take control. You know, I was doing a lot of the floating stuff and having like the like teammates corner me, and I just found out that's not like part of being a champion. You know, like so like I felt like that, you know. So I was like, you know what, I need a right coach. So I just fell into the mix where I was talking to other fighters, and they were telling me how coaches were in the area, even out here in Henderson, like at 10th Planet, where to go do jiu-jitsu, where to do MMA. And I just somebody told me to go to Syndicate and try it out. And I gave like the week tryout, and Sunday Merab, even that week tryout, we sparred like 3 times that week. So I was like, damn, and I got like working with all these other guys from Russia and Georginia's, and you know, so it was just like man, this is dope. You know, these guys have something different, you know, and then, yeah, they were just beating me up. So I was like, all right, you know, I like a gym where there's competition. So yeah, man. And that's what made me stick to Syndicate and the coaching. Wood is really good at game planning. Like him and Merab are good at game planning and beating me up in sparring, man. They're just, yeah, they're good. They're good together. And even when I have John Wood on my corner during sparring, it's just the way like, he's just a great engineer for the sport.
Your team in Colorado, your coaches in Colorado, will any of them still be a part of either a camp or just coaching on fight night, or did you just close that chapter and you have a new chapter?
With some coaches, I did close the chapter with them. But I have one coach. His name's Valor Caballero. He's my jiu-jitsu coach. He's gonna most likely be in my corner. He's
Okay.
a coach who's always looked out for me in those kind of, scenarios. So it's like, all right, like I have him, uh, my coach, and well, John Wood, and then my wife Claire.
I know this might sound corny, but you said you gave it a week. So maybe it was your way of interviewing the gym and the coach, but what was it you were looking for so that you knew that was the place to be? Was it like maybe practice starts on time, or they go hard, or your teammate looks out for you? Like what was it that secret ingredient that you really wanted to click with and make sure that was there if you were going to stay there and obviously be a good teammate to everyone else?
Yeah, well, you said right there, you said all the ingredients. To be honest, they had all those three ingredients you just said. So, and the plus side is I was getting beat in practice. Like, I was getting beat in wrestling, I was getting beat in jiu-jitsu, I was getting outstriked by other guys that just did striking, that came from like Glory Kickboxing or that one championship promotion, and I just trained with them, and it's like, all right, well, this is where I want, like, where I want that competitive edge, like I want to get beat, and then like now, and that's the thing I was doing. I was learning how to beat them,
Right.
so that's when I started learning new tricks, new moves. And even Wood was teaching me how, like, the systems they do and how they break down a fighter, throughout the rounds. And man, they like I said, I see it how they do it with Merab, especially because he has the perfect engine for it. And it's like, it's crazy how they do it all around the gym. Like, there's different fighters who, fight that kind of way, but man, just how they break down everything was just perfect. So I was like, man, they make fighting look easier, and that's what I want for sure.
I've heard from others that you go hard in practice, but they didn't mean it like he's a dick. They just meant you're intense. So tell me, how was it? You've been very open here saying, hey, I was kind of getting my butt kicked. At the same time, I'm sure you're trying to turn it on, but how was those first practices when there was, some good collisions between you and some of these wrestlers that you mentioned?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, man, like, if you're the new guy, they're gonna test you out too. They're gonna see if if you could, hang with the dogs. So I knew right away, like, there was gonna be some kind of thing there. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta. So, like, my thing was like, okay, I'm gonna move, and that's the thing. My movement gets people frustrated, and if you can't hit me, you're gonna wanna throw a punch that's gonna be harder and faster to get me. If you're gonna half-ass those punches, they're not gonna get me. And I'll get it. And I work angles, and I do a lot where I make fighters frustrated, where they go all out. So that's when they go all out, and then that's when I'm like, okay, well, I'm beating you with technique and movement. You want to come at me with power, and and aggression. Cool, I could give it back. So I'll give it back. And yeah, and that's part of the game. Like, that's the same with the Russians and the, like, a bunch of Mexicans are the same way, where I come in, I go a little bit light, and then they go hard, and it's like, okay, like my turn. I'm not gonna let up either. And that's part of this kind of sport. Sometimes you got to go in there a little hard and kind of represent yourself too, you know. And once you do that, you know, what's crazy is like those dudes that you were getting beat and you start beating them, they don't want to train with you, you know, because you're solving out their, you know, their moves. And that's the thing, how my fighting style is. I will figure out a way to solve the puzzle. You know, I'm good at that. I'll get better each round. So there's a lot of guys that won't go 3 rounds in a row with me because I'll figure you out. You know, and there's some guys who will just give me 1 round and it's cool, or some guys that give me 5 rounds, but it's like a Merab or a guy that's from, you know, Russia doing it. So it's, you know, you have these different situations, but you know, you can find your light rounds here and there.
As a proud judoka, have you already given some people some rides? Some
Oh
nice
yeah, for
tosses?
sure, bro. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all day, bro. Like, you know, like not to toot my own horn, but yeah, I've thrown them champ. I've thrown a lot of UFC fighters who were like, holy shit, I didn't believe that worked. You know, and I was like, nah, it works. It's just like I mastered the movement of catching you on your toes and not on your heels. And there's a lot of guys who do that, you know, and you can see it in the UFC where guys do it on their heels and throw people and then they'll land on each other or do it kind of weird. And, you know, there's, like I said, there's great judokas in the sport who showed it. You know, like Ronda Rousey had a beautiful head toss. Mine is more of a hip toss because it's more secure of the takedown. But yeah, man, like I'm trying to get smarter, work this fight IQ, and you know, get through this fight and just get better. You know.
I imagine some people might have been like, what the hell was that? But I could see someone like Merab almost smiling at you like, respect. That was fun.
Oh,
He
yeah,
just seems like a reckless type dude, you know, like that enjoys that.
oh, for sure, dude. He loved it. You know, like, and that's what's cool. I like some of these Russians and Kyrgyzstan guys have that sambo background. So some of these guys even give me a ride. So I'm like, damn, I gotta stay on my toes. And that's what kind of kept me around. I was like, damn, like I can't tie up with some of these motherfuckers. Some of these guys I can't grapple. Some of these guys I can't stay squared up. You know, like I had to learn how to survive out here, but it's only improving my game.
Last question from me.
For sure.
Have you cracked the code? And by that, I mean, you know, I'm sure having a resource like Merab, you know, like, have you even just said, how do you do it, man? 25 minutes and you don't stop. And then you can go out to the club and dance your ass. Like the guy never tires.
Bro, dude, you know, it's hard to explain because it's like you have to be there to see it, you know? Like this guy will come in, you know, he does a little shakeout, you know, goes in the ring, you know, I give him 3 rounds, and then another guy will come in, give him 2 rounds, and then he'll do another round with somebody fresh, and then another guy, then dude, he has like 8-10 rounds already in the cage, and you're just like, dude, what the fuck is this guy made out of? You know, and I'll even talk to the other guys and be like, hey man, we're gonna jump this motherfucker today, all right? We're gonna go in there, I'm gonna go hard on him for 3 rounds, and then you gotta go in there and you're gonna get him, you know, and dude, he's a fucking machine, dude. He's and the thing is, he goes in there and you know he's not thinking. He's just doing, you know, he's not like he's not trying to get like in your head. He's trying to just have fun. You know, he'll even like I'll land something clean or he'll land something clean and we just be like, that was nice, you know, like things like that, you know, and he'll teach you along the way, like he'll teach you stuff along the way, but he's mostly just moving all the time. So yeah, dude, I'm on the line of trying to break the code too. So
All right. Well, thanks for the time. We really appreciate it as always. Welcome to Vegas / Henderson. I think it's a great move, honestly, with that PI is a wonderful resource for your recovery, your food, training partners, and just kind of almost being around the game in case something pops up. Hopefully the UFC even uses you as like, you know, maybe an ambassador around the city when they need athletes to represent. That'd be great too. I've always told people, you know, anyone that's thought about it and you're on the fence, do it. You can always relocate back to your country, to your city when it's all said and done. But for now, man, it just seems like a layup.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm out here for it. So yeah.
All right, my man. Well, thanks, Chepe, for the time. Good luck against Pat Sabatini. It sucks that they kind of buried you down on the card. I didn't want to mention that too much because I didn't want to get you down. But fuck, man, like seriously, they need to build these stars, and I think they got one with you. Your fights always deliver that moment where the announcers are like, "Whoa, did you see that?" And I just wish they kind of had a higher placing on a gray card. I'm glad you're on a pay-per-view, but I would want to see you a little higher.
Yeah, I agree, man. But you know, I see that they want me to earn it. Cool, you know, we'll get on that train. You know, we'll get in there, show up, show out, and just keep on getting on there on the right side of the wins, and then you know, hopefully get on even that main card. You know, it would have been cool to be on that main card too. You know, but you know, working towards my own main event, like maybe at the Apex or something cool. You know, but yeah, man, just looking forward to the future.
All right. Well, again, good luck with the rest of your camp.
Thank
The
you.
travels to New York, the weight cut, and have fun out there, man. November 15th, if I'm not mistaken, out at Madison Square Garden, UFC 322. Thanks, Chepe.
Yeah, no problem, man.